Chatham House, thank you.
Thank you.
You're watching special coverage here on the BBC of the very latest from Libya. Although we still have no independent confirmation of the death of Colonel Gaddafi, we have had pictures which apparently show his body being carried through the streets of Sirte. With me now is Middle East analyst Nabila Ramdani. And Nabila, your reflections on a dramatic few hours of reports coming from Libya. What do you think it all means for the country?
Well, very dramatic indeed. It's clearly a historical day for Libya. And remember, early this morning we heard there have been reports that Gaddafi was building up a rebel army of his own to launch attacks on National Transitional Council forces. And now it seems that today, as the day unfolded, Sirte, the battle for Sirte, was the last battle against the regime. And it looks like it's very much the end of Gaddafi, of his regime, and of him physically as well. So very dramatic change of events.
It's interesting to reflect on the last couple of months, because we had the fall of Tripoli and Colonel Gaddafi being chased out of his city, but still there was this question mark about what happened to him.
Well, absolutely, and I think it was has always been crucial to the success of this revolution that Gaddafi should be either captured or found dead, as it were, to bring about closure to this not only the bloody episode of the civil war, but also of his 42 years of tyranny.
And what will it mean to Libyans, do you think? I'm thinking about so many people in Libya who would never have known another leader because, you know, they're younger than 42, and even people who were alive before the revolution would probably barely be able to remember another Libya.
Very much so, and I don't think one should underestimate the implications, the impact of Gaddafi's death, not only for Libyans, as you said. A whole generation grew up knowing only this one ruler, but also the implication it has for Africa, for the Middle East, and indeed for the whole world. Gaddafi was not just an evil tyrant, he was somebody who was particularly clever at manipulating Western media and drawing attention on himself on the international stage. Let's not forget that he was particularly clever at having ties with Western leaders. Tony Blair famously embraced him, and President Sarkozy received him in Paris not that long ago. So that was one of the cunning skills that Gaddafi had.
And yet President Sarkozy was absolutely key to the decision to begin those airstrikes in February to support the uprising in Benghazi. Is this a vindication of the role that the international community's played?
I think absolutely, and we're hearing conflicting reports about who ended Gaddafi. National Transitional Forces are claiming that they are very much behind the death of Gaddafi, while other reports are saying that NATO killed him. Now, obviously, this is going to be to make a major difference in the psyche of the Libyans as to who eventually undid Gaddafi.
It's interesting, though, I mean, this has been such a remarkable year across the Arab world, and yet Britain, France, the United States made a decision in Libya to intervene in a way that they haven't been willing to in Syria, for instance.
Very much so, and they made quite a controversial decision. The emphasis was from the beginning, from the international community, that the end game was not the removal of Gaddafi, but it was very clear from the beginning that it was not just about the protection of civilians, and it was also about ending the reign of somebody who's been in power for 42 years. And this raises questions as to the consistency of the international community and when it comes to making decisions to intervene somewhere else.
Nabila, stay with us, because we just have more news coming in from Libya.
Yes, the AP news agency out of Tripoli says that the Libyan Prime Minister has indeed confirmed the death of Colonel Gaddafi in the last few moments. The Libyan Prime Minister, Mahmoud Jibril, says that Muammar Gaddafi is indeed dead. That is coming through on the AP news agency out of the capital, Tripoli.
So it appears that we're starting to get more of this official confirmation, although at the moment this is still just according to AP. Nabila Ramdani, what do you make of how the interim government has handled all of this? They've been quite cautious not to comment too early on these reports.
Absolutely, and perhaps the main reason is because throughout the conflict we've heard on many occasions how, for example, members of the Gaddafi family had been captured and turned out not to be true.
Yeah, the sons on numerous occasions.
Absolutely, and I think NATO is still very circumspect expect about the death of Gaddafi. I think, to have an absolute confirmation of Gaddafi's end will be to hear from NATO officially.
Well, we're still looking at these live pictures from Sirte. It's really striking to look at what the city is like today compared to all the pictures that we've seen in recent weeks of this intense fighting. Today it looks like a very different place. We've seen lots and lots of people out on the streets celebrating, and now it seems we have started to get confirmation from the Libyan leadership of the death of Colonel Gaddafi.